Hey everybody, welcome back to Build a Website from Scratch with HTML and CSS. This video is called Background Images. We're finally going to be doing CSS background images. You're probably wondering at this point, hey Brad, where are the CSS background images? I want to know about those. Well, they're here and we're going to learn about them right now and they're awesome. So first things first, there's an extra included to this lecture that you need to download right now. It should be on the side there somewhere and you can download the two files that I've included. It's going to be the backgroundimages.html file and an images folder that has the images that we're going to be using as backgrounds to this lecture. So go ahead and download that because we're going to use that as our starter file. Instead of creating a new one, we're going to be using that file. So download it and add the images folder and the background-images.html file to your lesson 7 folder. You can alternatively, if you downloaded the full course files at the very beginning of this course, you could just pull them out of the lesson 7 folder, but just follow along, download the lecture extras on this lecture, swap it in your lesson 7 folder right here, and open the backgroundimages.html file. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you followed along, and we should be right here in our background images HTML file. All right, so this file basically has a tutorial built right into it. And I'm going to be explaining background images first, and then we're going to be doing some examples at the bottom. Okay, so let's start from the top. Background images, folks. There are a few different background properties that you can use on the background images CSS style. So there's something called background image, and the property is the location of the image itself. So for example, it would look like this in CSS. I'm selecting a level 1 heading here, background image property, and I'm selecting an absolute URL, website.com/image/background.jpg. That is going to be the background image of this fictional level 1 heading. You can alternatively use a relative URL that is relative to the directory that you are building your website in. So level 1 heading, background image, URL images/background.jpg. These are just examples of the background image property. Next, the background color. You've seen this one before. Background color allows you to add color to a background. An example in CSS would look like this, background color green. Background repeat. This is how the image will repeat if you're using background image. The value can be any of the following, background repeat, repeat. And this makes the background image repeat on both the X and Y axes. If that's the right axis, it's going to be on the X and Y things. And it will basically tile the image. Like if you just set your background image to a tile on your desktop, that's kind of what this does. X and Y tiling when you use repeat. Background repeat, repeat X. That's just repeating the background on the X axis. Background repeat Y, that is repeating the background on the Y axis. So that would be vertically, X is horizontally. Background repeat, no repeat. This is if you don't want the background to repeat at all and you only want to show one instance of the image. So just the background image itself, not repeated in any way. Background position. This is the actual position of the background within its container, the position of the background image, rather. The values you can use for this property is top, right, bottom, left, and center. It can also be percentage length or combination like so. Bottom left, could be top left, could be top right. You can't use top bottom or left right because you need to use an X and a Y, not a Y and a Y or an X and an X, if you know what I mean. There is a shorthand property that saves you coding time, so you don't have to write out background repeat, background color, background position, background image, all these things. You can use a shorthand, and it's a quick way around, and you don't have to type it all out. So it looks like this, background, just that. You can put the color, so green, and then the background image, so URL, here's the image, then the position, top, left, and the repeat, no repeat, all in one line. That's how I do it. That's how a lot of web designers do it. And that's how I think you should do it as well. So now that we've covered that, let's jump right in and play with these examples. So right here in your HTML file at the bottom, you see a comment that says end documentation and then examples. This is what we're going to work with. I've already put the HTML in there for you so we could just play with the CSS. You already know enough HTML right now. Let's just do the CSS. So here are the examples, some divs with some IDs and classes, and we're going to play with those right now and start adding some backgrounds. So in your styles.css, go to the bottom of your style sheet and add a comment that says background images. And let's start by selecting the class background example because all of those divs that I added they all have the class of background example. Therefore, we can select all of them at once using a CSS class selector and give them all the same style. Height 200 pixels, width 200 pixels, border solid 1 pixel, black. So they're all going to look like boxes. So here they are, examples: background image repeated, background color, background image position, no repeating, background image position repeating on x-axis. So they don't have backgrounds right now, but they all look identical, and now we can start putting background images in these boxes. Back to your styles. Let's select background 1, the ID of background 1. That was the first box. I'm going to put a little comment here so you can use it as reference. By default, background images repeat X and Y and are positioned top left. So if you just say background image and you give the URL of the background image, images / we're going to use the blue background provided in the images folder that you just downloaded, blue_background.jpg. If I save that and I have nothing else, just background image, by default, it's going to repeat X and Y and it's going to be positioned top left. So there it is, background image repeated. You don't see the top left, but that's where the tiling starts. So it's starting up here in the top left corner and it's repeating on the x-axis and the y-axis. So it's filling this out, kind of like it's tiling the entire box. So we have this nice textured blue background. Let's move on to the next example. Background 2. Background color. We're just going to select, make a color here, put a color, A3D. Save that, and we should just have this kind of purplish color. All right, so that's background color. All right, background 3. Let's do background image. The URL will be images/stake_background in our images folder. And I'm going to also, I'll show you what this looks like first. So there's our stake, and it's starting in the top left, as you can see. This is the original image, and it's tiling X and Y, and it's repeating. You could see that. So we're going to change that. Let's go background repeat. No repeat. I don't want it to repeat at all. Check it out. So top left, and it's not repeating, but I want it to look better than that. Background position, center, and center. So I want it to be center on the x-axis and center on the y-axis. Check it out. Now that looks good. All right, on to the last example. Background 4. Let's say we're going to use the shorthand. Background. We're not going to add a color because we don't need to in this example, but we're going to add the other properties. So images/skull background.jpg in our images folder. And the position will be bottom and left. Repeat X. So position it bottom left and repeat it on the x-axis. So here it is. So you'll see the skull starts in the bottom left and it repeats only horizontally or on the x-axis. So there's the examples. So keep this file, obviously. You can use it for reference. Run through this again to just kind of wrap your head around it and just play around with the examples here. You can just put whatever you want. I have a couple, I have the backgrounds in here and you can try them all out, see what they look like in here, do different combinations of positioning, of the image, of where you want it to repeat, everything like that. Try it out, give it a go. And once you feel comfortable with background images, let's move on to the next lecture and I'll see you there, my friends.